Florida, 1989. A stretch of empty interstate at midnight, and a woman with her thumb out, waiting in the dark. To the men who stopped, she looked like nothing more than a stranded traveler. 7 of them would never make it home. This is the story of Aileen Wuornos, the drifter the press would call the damsel of death. Welcome to Crime Unmasked. Aileen Carol Pittman was born in Michigan in 1956 into a childhood that reads like a warning. Her father was a convicted child predator she never met. Her mother abandoned her. Raised by grandparents she said were violent, she was pregnant at 14 and living in the woods soon after, surviving by hitchhiking and selling herself on the road. By the late 1980s, Aileen had drifted to Florida. She worked the highways, climbing into the cars of strangers. And in 1986, she met Tyria Moore, the woman she loved, and the relationship she would later say she was desperate to protect, no matter the cost. November 1989. 51-year-old Richard Mallory, an electronics store owner, picked her up. His body was found days later in the woods, shot several times. Wuornos claimed he had raped her and that she killed him to survive. It was a claim she would repeat and later contradict. Then it happened again and again. Over 13 months, the bodies of middle-aged men appeared along Florida's highways, each shot with a small caliber pistol, their cars and belongings gone. Investigators were slow to connect them until they realized a single killer was hunting the roads. Their names deserve to be spoken. Richard Mallory, David Spears, Charles Carskadon, Peter Seams, Troy Burris, Charles Humphreys, Walter Antonio. 7 men, 7 families left with only questions. The break came in July 1990. Wuornos and Moore crashed a victim's car and fled the wreck. Witnesses described 2 women. Composite sketches hit the news. And in the pawn shops, the killer had left a paper trail, selling the dead men's possessions, signing receipts, leaving a thumbprint behind. On January 9th, 1991, police arrested Aileen Wuornos at a biker bar called The Last Resort. Tyria Moore was found soon after and agreed to help. In a series of recorded phone calls, she drew out a confession. Days later, Wuornos admitted to all 7 killings. At trial, she insisted the men had attacked her. The jury saw a pattern instead. Robbery, not survival. In January 1992, she was convicted of murder. More convictions followed. In the end, Aileen Wuornos was sentenced to death 6 times over. She spent a decade on death row, eventually dropping her appeals and asking to die. On October 9th, 2002, Aileen Wuornos was executed by lethal injection. Her last meal was a single cup of coffee. Victim or predator? Survivor or monster? More than 30 years later, the highways are quiet, but the questions never left. This was Crime Unmasked. If this case stayed with you, subscribe and step back into the shadows where secrets are finally exposed.